The colony ship Harbinger's Hope had been humanity's greatest achievement. Vessel carrying 10,000 souls across the void to a new world. Now it lay broken across the ice plains of Glacium 7. Its hull split open like a cracked egg, spilling refugees into the howling dark. Arya pressed her gloved hand against the fractured viewport, watching the storm intensify. Purple lightning arced across the horizon, each bolt illuminating mountains of ice that scraped the alien sky. The temperature outside had dropped to -170°C. The winds exceeded 300 kilometers per hour. And somewhere out there, beyond the crashed medical bay, lay the ship's core reactor still functional, still broadcasting its location beacon and their only hope of survival. "She can't go out there," whispered Fen, the small Velwrathi cub clinging to Arya's thermal suit. His silver fur bristled with fear, his 3 amber eyes wide in the emergency lighting. "The storms on my world were terrible, but this will kill her." Arya knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with the young alien. The Velwrathi were refugees too. Their world had been consumed by their dying star 3 cycles ago. Humanity had taken them in, offered them passage to the new colony. Now their fates were intertwined in this frozen hell. "I know it's dangerous, Fen," Arya said softly, her breath misting in the frigid air. The life support was failing. They had maybe 6 hours before hypothermia claimed them all. "But that reactor is our only chance. Without it, we can't power the shelters. Without the shelters ... double quotes, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. Fen had seen enough death already." Captain Torres approached, his face haggard. "Arya, you can't seriously be considering this. We've lost 3 drones already. The storm is stripping metal like tissue paper. No human has ever survived conditions like—" "No human has ever tried," Arya interrupted, standing. She was already sealed in the expedition-grade thermal suit, its integrated heating elements running at full capacity. "Captain, you know the math. We have 247 survivors in this section. 63 are Velwrathi cubs. They can't regulate their body temperature in this cold. In 6 hours they start dying." Torres's jaw tightened. He knew she was right. The reactor is 8 kilometers away. In the storm, with 0 visibility, "I've got the beacon." Arya tapped the navigation unit on her wrist. "And I've got something the drones don't have: determination born of desperation." She moved toward the airlock, but small paws grabbed her leg. Fen looked up at her, trembling. "My mother said humans were reckless, that you throw yourselves at impossible things." I didn't understand what she meant until now. Arya smiled behind her helmet's faceplate. "Your mother was wise, little one. But she missed one thing: we're only reckless when we have something worth being reckless for." The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The storm screamed its rage, a wall of ice and darkness that seemed almost alive in its fury. Arya stepped forward. "Wait!" Fen's voice cracked. "What if you don't come back?" Arya paused at the threshold between safety and oblivion. "Then you tell everyone that a human tried." "That's what we do, Fen. We try." The door sealed behind her with terrible finality. The storm was worse than anything Arya had imagined. Ice particles struck her faceplate like bullets, each impact creating spiderweb cracks that the suit's auto-repair system struggled to heal. The wind tried to tear her from the ground, and more than once she had to activate her suit's magnetic boots, locking herself to the metal debris that littered the ice. 3 kilometers in, her left heating element failed. She kept moving. 5 kilometers in, the wind shifted, and she lost visual contact with her own hands. She navigated purely by the beacon's pulse in her wrist display, each step an act of faith. 6 kilometers in, she fell into a crevasse. The impact shattered 2 ribs. She climbed out using nothing but ice picks and spite. At 7.3 kilometers, her oxygen reserves dropped below critical. She overrode the safety protocols, pushing her body into a state of controlled hypoxia. Her vision tunneled. Her thoughts became sluggish, but her legs kept moving. The reactor emerged from the storm like a monument to human engineering, a sphere of reinforced alloy. Still humming with power, still intact despite the crash. Arya's frozen fingers fumbled with the manual override panel. The codes were muscle memory, drilled into every engineer on the Harbinger's Hope. She activated the remote link, established connection, initialized the power transfer protocol. The confirmation chime was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard, but the journey back was impossible. She knew it immediately. Her suit was failing. Her body was failing. The storm had only grown stronger. Arya collapsed against the reactor, her mind drifting. At least she'd succeeded. At least the cubs would live. At least a sound cut through the wind. Voices. Impossible. Through the swirling chaos, lights appeared, a dozen figures in thermal suits, linked together by safety cables, fighting their way toward her. Captain Torres led them, and clinging to his back, bundled in thermal wraps, was Fen. "Did you really think," Torres's voice crackled over the comm, "that we'd let you die alone out here? We're humans too, Arya. If you're reckless enough to save us, we're reckless enough to save you." They pulled her up, they linked her into their chain. And together, step by agonizing step, they fought their way back to the crashed ship. 3 days later, when the storm finally broke and rescue ships from the secondary colony site arrived, they found the survivors huddled in powered shelters, alive and warm. The story spread quickly how one human engineer had walked into death itself to save them all, and how her fellow humans had walked into that same death to bring her home. Fen would remember it forever, would tell the story to his own cubs one day. "She went out into the storm to save us," he would say, his voice filled with wonder. "We feared we'd never see her again, but humans don't abandon each other. They don't abandon anyone. That's why they're humanity. That's why they're magnificent." And Arya, her ribs healed, her hands scarred, would simply smile and say what she always said. "We try, that's what we do. We try, because in the end, that was enough."